gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin with HRA Advisories. It's Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. I'm here with Colin Padget, the CEO of Founders Metals, and a surprise guest, Chris Taylor, a recently added director of Founders Metals. We're here to talk about the news release that came out this morning that details yet another new discovery at Antino. They seem to keep turning these up left, right, and center. The new one is called Da Vinci. I'm going to let Colin walk us through the release, but I mean, it looks great. It's another great looking zone.
Yeah, we're pretty happy with this one. And I guess Chris did a site visit to the property here just a couple weeks ago, and we were all able to make it to Da Vinci and actually see it on the ground. So it's just as impressive as it looks in the photos and in the release. So, but I mean, the story behind Da Vinci is really, I mean, good geology, I'd say. I mean, our chief geologist Vincent Combs, and then our VPX Pascal Vogely, both a lot of work in looking at a lot of the different data sets and really just taking what they've learned at Upper Antino and applying it elsewhere on the property. And there's quite a few overlapping characteristics in the structural geology, some of the geophysics, the LiDAR data, etc. And there was some artisanal working here in the past and a little auger anomaly. And yeah, sure enough, followed up on that, had some success with some channel sampling, and then, well, right from hole one, it's been a couple of very impressive gold zones or shear zones with gold mineralization. And we've now got five holes in this release. Took what was a three-hole quick down and back sort of program and turn it into 12 holes. We've got nine. We'll have nine done by the end of this year. And we'll get more results out in the new year. So
Yeah, the last update I wrote on you guys, I pointed out that you don't have a habit of wasting holes. So when I saw you went from 3 to 12, obviously you saw something you liked in the first couple of holes. That something probably being some VG here and there, which is not uncommon in mesothermal systems.
one of our project geos told us that he was going to quit if this one didn't come back with grade in it. So, which is risky.
Yeah,
You never know until you get the assays, but uh, yeah, they were pretty keen when they hit it with the drill. So we were happy to see the numbers for sure. Um,
okay.
can bump down here, show people
Yep.
kind of generally where we are. Yeah, on this map here, change things around just to highlight all the new zones that we've been doing work on, and then Da Vinci down here. So Upper Antino, Froyo, all of that out here. Boise, where we got the second big drill result piece out earlier this year. And then Froyo, which was our last new discovery. Um, got quite a few holes into that now, and we'll have results out the new year, and that's definitely growing some. So Da Vinci down here makes the fourth big one, I'd say, and then we still got quite a bit of work to follow up on at Parbo and then Lawa as well. So yeah, 2025 looks like there'll be lots of things to focus on, but Da Vinci's really I think everyone's been really excited in the field about this one.
Well, right. All those light colored areas, with a couple of exceptions. I mean, those are alluvial workings. And I mean, I realize some of them, just based on shape and location, are probably strictly alluvial. They don't necessarily have something right underneath them. But just going by areas where the locals put in, fairly significant effort, there's a lot of target you guys haven't even touched yet there.
Yeah, and Da Vinci's such a great example of, somebody's been there. It didn't work out for the guy on the surface,
Right.
and for whatever reason, there's all kinds of whether they're good miners or their equipment failures. Who knows? They're mining in the jungle. Um, but they walked away several years ago, and then we come back, you put holes into it, and you find out it's what looks to be a pretty serious system. So it's a great first order. It's as first order as it gets, indicator, or, you find gold where people are mining gold. It's it's great. And then jumping down to kind of what it looks like, was really happy that we could actually get an aerial view for people to spend a sense of scale, because I think having the kind of pre-existing or the abandoned camp there, which we'll actually be able to do a bit of refurbishing and make use of, which is nice to have it in place, and roads and everything to go along with it, all the way up to Boise, and you can drive right from the main camp to here. That's what we're doing right now for crew changes with the drillers and everything. Um,
Nice.
but this is the bit of pit work that was done in the past. This is the abandoned kind of mill area that they're working through. And
Right.
then you don't get a sense of the relief, in just a photo like this. But I mean, Chris can attest to it. I mean, walking up and down this, there's
Mhm.
quite a bit of relief there. So it's yeah, a lot of that saprolite, and you see it in the cross section. I'll show you in a sec. Um, is preserved. I mean, we're drilling, holes up here. Five is reported here. Four goes in this direction. That's top of a hill. I'd expect, or what we see in those holes, saprolites anywhere from 50 to 80 meters. So um, all that free dig material is still sitting there, which is fantastic. Uh, I'll just actually, well, we can zoom in on this one here. The plan map of what we drilled. So we put in the release that we drilled off about 100 meters of strike. So with actual drilling, and point to the structure and got assays back for about 100 meters of strike. In the holes that we've drilled but haven't gotten assays back, we see things that look very similar. So don't have numbers yet, but it looks like we've got 200, 250 meters plus at this point along strike. And in the cross section here, uh, we hit it pretty deep. Or again, in what looks to be very similar material, quite a ways down, and that gives us almost 200 meters or 200 or so meters of vertical from surface.
Okay.
With that,
And so hole two is fresh, which is nice. I mean,
yeah,
this part of the world, it's always nice to know you got the grade in the fresh rock. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes you get upgrading.
that's
That
right.
doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think this was much different than elsewhere on the property. We don't really see a lot of evidence or any evidence, for the most part, of remobilization or slump or what have you. It's usually the veins, if we hit them in the fresh rock, we'll hit them higher up in the saprolite and vice versa. And that certainly holds here. Structure appears to be more or less vertical, with what we have for oriented core data and surface measurements mapping. Things seem to be pretty up and down.
So you got, I don't know, 30 meters or so of thickness twice in these
Yeah.
two shear zones, and maybe more repeats to come. I mean, yeah, I mean that gives you room to definitely gives you room to build some tonnage there.
Yeah. And there was in this step back stuff, there was a couple of hits further up the string as well. Things
Okay.
that, looks pretty good. We're being conservative and calling it sulfide quartz for the shear zone. But I mean, these are the types of things you want to see. And I mean, to that, the point of things matching up with stuff that correlates with high grade or with the good stuff at areas like Froyo, that brecciation in particular, that's
Mhm.
associated with that later brittle stuff. And really, where we see brecciation, where we see that opportunity for remobilization of gold in the system is where we get the higher grades. So um, we see quite a lot of brecciation throughout this area. Um, and it's things are looking pretty good. The other big difference would be is that like it's different from anywhere else on the property as far as differences go is that it's all in seds. So it's very much a sediment hosted system right now, but quite close to this boundary with looks to be a fairly large QFP unit.
Do you think sediments are maybe a preferred unit? I know you've got tons of mineralization in other units, but just as a general sort of thought exercise, do you think sediments might turn out to be a preferred host just because of how they fracture?
Yeah, mean, I mean the inverse is true on the property.
Right.
I would say like at Froyo, where we do have sediments, we find that, compared to the QFP or some of the intrusive rocks, we just get better developed shears in the, I guess, more competent like intrusives or volcanic rocks. But down here, it certainly seems to be the case. I mean, the shears and all the mineralization so far that we've hit has been in this, but it all just depends on how big the zone is ultimately. It could be a scale thing where we get into the QFP or maybe there's other rock types beyond. And Those could be even better or the same. Who knows? Yeah, at this point, it's still early that way.
Okay, you've got what, four drill rigs going right now?
Four rigs going. The fourth one just got rolling, so we'll get I think 300 or 400 meters out of it probably by
Right.
the time it's done its practice work. But all the guys and stuff are trained up and the crew's there, so it's ready to go full tilt in January when we're back from the holidays. Yeah. And
Are there any other, not that you really need more, but are there any other sort of new quote unquote targets that are jumping out at you, or is the drilling going to kind of be sticking to, Froyo, Lore, Antino, Da Vinci, like the things we know about now?
Honestly, Chris, and we talked about this on the ground
Mhm.
at Antino because there really are a lot of there's lots of targets. I
Yeah,
mean, there's lots of things that have these same kind of overlapping features. There's lots of auger anomalies that you know definitely warrant following up on. If Da Vinci's any example of that, it's
right.
if you look at it locally, it's an anomaly, no
Right.
question. But relative to say the scale of the anomaly in Upper Antino, I mean, it's maybe not
Right.
as impressive. Some of that's because it's just not the same density.
Right. Into frozen on me.
So that's definitely generated some targets for next year.
Yeah.
But I think really like the 2025 mission is exploration, exploration, exploration. We want to get out there with a rig and keep at least one rig kind of full-time busy on testing all of these things and actually
Right.
getting close into them. I think in terms of, value to shareholders, we
Yep.
build up by finding more things and showing, well, the market, but, you know, potential future acquirers as well,
Yep.
what the potential ultimately of the project is. And that's
Yeah. No, I'm totally on board with that. I know there's some people that are, they always want to push for a resource as early as possible, but you know, I, you get paid more for mystery than for history. And I can remember having this conversation with Chris a few years back, and I was like, "You're not going to do a resource, are you?" And he's like, "Hell no. We'll just put everything out. And, people get the azimuths, they get the UTMs, the colors. They want to play with it in their 3D. That's okay with us. But why, when we know the thing's still growing, why pin a number down on it when you know that number's not going to be anywhere near the full potential of the project?" And I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just wondering, Chris, I mean, you visited Antino for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
You got any thoughts on it? Any comments you want to make? Generalities?
Well, each project is its own entity in a way, but there were some strong similarities to some of the features we saw at Great Bear.
Right,
The scale of the gold hosting shear zones here is very impressive. I hope people don't lose sight of the scale bar sitting in the bottom corner of this image. But like if you look at that trend from Upper Antino now down to Da Vinci and even past that, there's over 15 kilometers of strike length. And if you think about what we did at Great Bear, there was about a 5 kilometer area where we were focusing our drilling on the LP fault and
right.
finding a lot of gold there. So, I think this project has the capacity, which is a really positive feature for both the high grade gold and the sort of broader bulk tonnage type zones. And here with bulk tonnage like in the gram plus, but often in the multi-gram range as well, going right to surface. And it's a really good combination. I can speak with, some authority when you're trying to show what your project can provide. It's that sort of combination of open pit and underground potential, and that really gives you scale. So they certainly have the grades that they could follow to depth on this project. I don't see any reason why some of these gold zones are not going to go down for kilometer plus ranges, which is really exciting. But they don't need to do that work yet because they keep finding more gold in the near surface. And it's quite interesting. Like if you look at the map here, I was just talking to these guys about it. Like the pink dots that you see on there, those are auger samples. Those aren't projections from the drill holes. And some of these areas, like Da Vinci, is not a huge auger anomaly. There's not a lot of drilling done. We were standing at Boise, and there were some areas there with really nice gold that didn't have very strong auger signatures above it. So I wonder when I look at this project, like there's going to be blind deposit zones on the project as well. So there's areas where the artisanal guys have found gold and they've got workings, but there's going to be a lot of areas where they just haven't done that. It's not like they have X-ray vision and they're able to see all the gold in the ground and start mining the saprolite above it. It's sort of a bit of a random process. And that means that there's going to be a series of discoveries over time on the project. And, if we look for that potential for critical mass, it definitely has that potential. And there's areas that they're going to approach through 2025 that they haven't done any work really on yet. And those will be, new squares on this map. So I'm very excited to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, it's a great project. I mean, it's just Antino just seems to keep giving. I mean, every time you guys go to a new area, it seems like you find another, substantial, and I mean substantial system. It's not like you're hitting, you know, grade over half a meter and it peters out. I mean, you're hitting these big shear zones with large vein zones within the shears, big breccia zones. I mean, it's a fabulous project. I mean, it really is.
Yeah,
I know there are people out there that probably look at the share price and go like, "Wow, that's really gone a long way," which it has. Thank you, Colin. Um, but and Chris, but I look at it and I go, yeah, it's true. It doesn't have a tiny market cap anymore, but you look at the scale of the systems on this project, and yeah, this could be one of those rare beasts that's got you know several million ounces or more. It has that kind of scale potential. So keeping that in mind and keeping in mind the fact that it's still a relatively tight share structure. I mean, there's a few institutions that own a big chunk of this thing. The float's not that big. But, much like Great Bear, it's got room to move. I mean, I don't think this story's over by a long shot.
Well, I even think, Eric, like if you look at what just got put out at Da Vinci today, say that this was a brand new company, right? So you didn't have any of these other zones and things were just getting rolling. If you put out a series of results like just came out today, I mean, you could conceivably be looking at like $100 million market cap just on that. So I kind of wonder when you start looking at cumulative value based on these things, and remember that they're wide open, right? They're wide open to depth. A lot of them are wide open along strike in different directions. What is the fair value of all these different zones that are going to come together? And, the market would get excited if they just had one of these things and were consistently drilling it off. So I think, I guess that's a bit of a risk for the company is that the market may not see the forest for the trees, but it's quite the forest of gold results that they're generating here. And it's that aggregate mass of gold mineralization, which is really becoming impressive in my mind.
It's a fantastic project. I mean, you guys have done a great job, and 60,000 meters next year already financed. It's just going to be news release, news release, news release from one end of the year to the other. It's great, great story.
Yeah.
You guys got any comments you want to make to kind of summarize or wrap this up? Uh, any other thoughts?
think we've hit the big ones. I mean, I just say that, 2024 has been pretty fantastic and just to, repeat what you just said, having 60,000 meters, kind of in our back pocket and four drills running, it's 5,000 plus meters a month that, we can test these things and test new things and grow the things that we already have a handle on. So it's going to be pretty exciting and pretty fun 2025.
And I'd follow up and say, talking to um, like the guys on the site, talking to Colin, talking to the entire team, talking to Vincent recently as well. Um, Da Vinci's a great target, but it is not the target that Vincent was most excited about.
Yeah, so this isn't. I remember Colin mentioning Vincent had something he really wanted to drill. It wasn't Da Vinci. It's something else.
Well, so we did that little call there when uh, when Chris was wrapping up his visit there,
Right.
and Katie asked the question, Vincent, what are you most excited about? And there was zero hesitation. He instantly said lava. So he is pretty excited about this. And we don't have it on this map, but he did his PhD up here on the Yao stuff in French Guiana, which is almost 2 million ounces at 2 grams, and he sees it as potentially more than that. And he really sees a lot of similarities in some of the work that they've done now here, and really likes the scale potential of the whole lava piece. They just did a big mapping expedition with some geologists from the university, and Solomon Kernenberg actually was down. He's the fellow who did the original bedrock mapping back in the 70s around here. Would join them as well. So they looked at shears along the edge of the river, and were able to take the strike here of this first lava structure, and it's upwards of 8 kilometers long. Gold mineralization at either end and in the middle, and then this other one down here is 5 kilometers long, where they've seen gold mineralization in the same shears, same structures, same rocks. So it's yeah,
Okay.
that's his baby, I think. So
Right.
we'll
Well,
be
I
getting
mean, uh, go Vincent. I mean, based on how well Da Vinci's working, I'm gonna I'm gonna make a point of not making too much out of the size of the rectangle. The law was, I mean, it's a huge target.
yeah.
You can see how much digging the artisanal guys did. So I mean, obviously they were finding something. You don't take a hole that big unless something's coming out of the sluice. So I mean, there's obviously stuff going on there, and he knows Yao. Yao was kind of his project. So if he says it looks like Yao, okay, I got no reason to disbelieve him. So that's great. I mean, yet another huge target that's barely being touched really with the drill.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
We're
It's
Okay,
happy
so
to be where
yeah,
we are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still early days here with this project and with the company, and they're really in good hands. Like Colin's a very bright guy, Pascal's a very bright guy, Vincent's a very bright guy. Everybody I talk to on the team, Katie's a very bright person. Like it's a very bright young team. They're very motivated. They've got their head in the right place. They're letting the science lead the project. And because of that, they're having a lot of success. So I think it's going to be a great year in 2025. And this is a nice little Christmas present here. So good title there,
yes,
Colin.
Yeah.
Colin and Katie, for the end of the year. So congrats, guys. You're doing a great job.
Yeah. Thanks.
agreed. There you have it, folks. Founders Metals, FDR on the venture, FDMIN on QB, I think it is. And in the US, just great story, fantastic project, fantastic team. Fully financed. I got 35 million in the bank. This is a story that's just going to keep growing, and I think it's just going to get better and better. And I mean, God knows if you're one of my subscribers, I'm sure you're paying attention because I've certainly talked about it enough times in the last year. But if you're not, this is a story you really need to get onto if you're not onto it, because this is going to be one of those rare large scale successes. I think that's already obvious. So, great job, guys.
Thanks.